just walked out onto the platform and missed the train. It happens sometimes when I'm here in Ski Square. It's a 25-minute walk here. I try to time it right. Sorry, I'm also being attacked by lots of mosquitoes. So it's a warm summer evening, and now that it's a little bit cooler, all the mosquitoes are out, and so I have to keep moving around to make it harder for them to find me. So I keep doing all this all the time. Sorry about that, everyone who's watching. Wish you could see the beautiful sunset here. So you can see the sky is just a beautiful color right now, but if you're gonna see me, I've gotta lighten that up a little bit because, you know, I got hat head here, and yeah, so that's the thing, huh? All right, so what are the things that have helped to form me into being who I am? I talked a little bit about my relationship with my mom and my family and how important that was. I'd like to talk a little bit about growing up outside of Chinatown, because that was a very important part of who I am. Actually, it really has formed me in a lot of ways. So it started in junior high school. I went to Westlake Junior High School, and that's because there was a gifted program. And for those of you who don't know what that is, back in the day in California, they wanted to try to improve the ratings for the schools and things. And what they decided is that those kids who could learn at a faster rate, who really liked school, we would put them all in the same classes and give them great teachers. And it's called the gifted program. Those who are gifted, academically gifted. Very competitive. It was, I don't know if it was good or bad. I can't say. I wish I knew the answer to that, and I don't. But I know that for me, being in that environment was really great because most of the people in the environment also like school. And it was okay to be smart, and it was okay to be maybe a bit nerdy, I guess, or something. I don't know, you know. And so the gifted program, they weren't going to have it at the junior high school closest to our house, and so I got a chance to go to Westlake because my test scores were really high, and that was really a big, gigantic change in my life. So when I came to Westlake, in my classes, most of the people in the class were Asian. We were a few people who were African American, and a few others of other things. Some of us were white. So, you know, my friends like Peter and Stephen and David, and then there were, you know, Philip. You know, we're a few people in the class who were African American or white, but most of the kids were actually Asian. And that meant that the friends I made in junior high school, because hardly no one from my elementary school was there. And so I had to make new friends. And so I remember one of the first friends I made was a guy, his name was Irving. Irving had really red hair. It's my first red-headed friend, okay? And Irving, we were at a summer school program with music and writing, creative writing. And that's when Irving and I became friends. We knew we were going to go to Westlake. So now I knew one person at the school. And so we started. And what happened was that, wow, these mosquitoes are really starting to attack me now. And what happened was that I just started hanging out with the people I was, you know, in class with. And at our school was a really multicultural school. So the next video will actually talk about the whole idea of just growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. That multicultural, that creative, artsy. I mean, there was so many things happening there. But right now, I just want to focus on this, growing up outside of Chinatown. And so I remember going to my teacher, Mrs. Chen. The principal was Chinese, my teacher was Chinese, okay? So just telling you what the school was like. And I asked Mrs. Chen, I said, well, my friends are in Asian Club, and I want to join Asian Club. You know, that's me. And she laughed and she said, and I remember saying, it's like, okay, well, and if it was anyone else, I probably would say no, but I see who you hang out with and everything, and it's okay. You can join the Asian club. So I was the first black guy. I was maybe the only black guy. There were only a few of us who joined the Asian club. We were a couple, so I wasn't the only one. But we joined the Asian club, and that was one of my after-school clubs. So it was Asian club, it was science club. I played a lot of basketball back in the day. And I was in the chess club and in junior high school. That's actually where I learned. I had sort of had the basics of chess before from a man who I really respect named Murphy. But it was actually Mr. Reich, my math teacher, who actually had led the chess club. And that's where my love of the game of chess started. And I really like playing chess, even though I'm not a good chess player. But I really like playing chess, I just don't spend enough time working on theory and practicing and learning enough openings. I just like to play. So I play for fun. Oh, and I was in the orchestra also in high school, where, of course, there are a lot of Asians. So what happened was I would hang out with all my friends. We'd hang out after school. And what do we do after school? Well, let's go down to Chinatown. Okay, because someone owned a restaurant or knew someone, or we wanted to get dim sum, or we wanted to get back then when I used to eat pork. One of my favorite things was that beautiful roasted pork with gailan and rice, and I would order it all the time. The crispy pork skin. I was just to die for. And Chinatown was alive. I mean, there were all these. You could go out, you could buy like fresh animals, you could pick out the fish you wanted, they kill it, scale it, everything was so fresh. And so one of my first passions for food is there are 3 passions for food. That's another video. But growing up outside of Chinatown is one of them. That passion for freshness, going to these open markets, or there were several markets in Oakland that you could go to for fresh food. So you have where the farmers would come in early in the morning. You have Chinatown, and you'd have to have this place called Housewives. And Housewives was just like, it was, as we would say in Swedish, it's like a saluhal. And it's a place where you would have different, you go here to get the meat, and you go here to get the fish, and you go here to get the chicken, whatever. That's what it was like back then. And Chinatown had a lot of that. And I remember I wanted to go to Chinese school because a lot of my friends were going to Chinese school on the weekends. And I wanted to learn to speak Chinese, or Cantonese really. And I wanted to learn to write it because that was one of the languages. So it's English, Spanish, and Cantonese. Those are the 3 languages that dominated my life until I was probably about 25 years old. That's the languages I heard all the time. Those are languages of a lot of my friends who spoke other languages. It's usually either Cantonese, it was Spanish, or it was English. And one of the things I appreciated about that was that I could just be me. I did like playing basketball because I was a little taller than everybody else. That made me feel tall because I was short. But it was some of those friends that I made back then. So one of my friends, Rita. Rita is one of my oldest friends. Rita and I are still friends. Patty and I are still friends. There were a lot of friends that I met back then who actually, poured into me and made me who I am. The appreciation of other cultures is what I've learned by growing up outside of Chinatown. And even when I got to high school, and that my high school youth group wasn't back at King Solomon or at Cornerstone Baptist Church, which I would later belong to, but it was actually a Chinese Bible church. So sometimes I go to Sunday services if I didn't have to go with my family. And I went to the Lord's Credentials, LC. That was my high school group. And most of the people were Chinese. That's just the way my life looked. I love to eat rice every day. I liked rice before I started hanging out in Chinatown. But it really got cemented back then. And it was just great. I mean, I remember Greg, and I remember going to his house, and his mom was really surprised that I could eat with chopsticks, and I never really learned to speak Cantonese, but I could understand a lot. I mean, comprehension comes before actually mastering the language. And it was just fun, you know. It was just growing up, and we joked around a lot and had a lot of fun. And those are people who were just my friends. They liked me for who I was, and and in hanging out outside of Chinatown, or at the youth center at Lincoln Park or whatever, uh, Lincoln Square, I mean, it was no one was calling me Oreo. Okay, when I was hanging out outside of Chinatown, Oreo was what they used to call, you're black on the outside, white on the inside. So it wasn't a compliment that people were calling me Oreo. But in Chinatown, outside of Chinatown, growing up outside of Chinatown, no one was calling me that. They might be calling me other things. And I'm not saying that growing up outside of Chinatown was always easy, or even in my youth group. Some of the experience I have there were really painful. Some of the things were unfair. It wasn't all great, but it has formed me. So you can see those mosquitoes. Can't you see how those big old mosquitoes hanging out? Okay, look, if I stand still, you're going to see gigantic, right there. Right there, sucker. And but it did for me, and it did pour into me. And part of the reason that I think that I sought out a multicultural way of following Jesus, wanting to be in a multicultural church, wanting to live a multicultural life, it starts there, growing up outside of Chinatown. It's going to, to the tea house, or it was going to the different restaurants, or it was just, appreciating things that were different from my own original, culture, the African American and American cultures, and I loved it. I loved it, and Westlake Junior High School was a great place. We would celebrate Cinco de Mayo. We would celebrate Chinese New Year. We would have an International Day, and so you can go over to where the Filipino club had lumpia. The Black Student Unions had their stuff. The Asian club had its stuff. There were all these different ethnicities, and it was okay to be like that. And I loved Westlake Junior High School. I love my teachers. I love the principal. Okay, I don't love all my teachers. There was one teacher that really, I don't know, she didn't like me very much. But we're not talking about that. So growing up outside of Chinatown, interacting with another culture, learning about different ways of hospitality, learning about different ingredients with foods, was really, really great. And there's people like from that start, there were people who become friends throughout our lives as long as we would live together. So people like my old roommate, Randy Yee. So I love Randy. Randy was one of the kindest men I've ever met in my life. I was really sad when he passed away. His brother Ryan and I had grown up together. We went to junior high school and high school together. We were always rivals on the clarinet, and Ryan was always better than me. Always better than me. But that pushed me, because it made me study. I couldn't afford private lessons, but it made me practice my clarinet, because I wanted to beat him, and I never did. Never did. And Ryan was good at so many different things. So it was like, ah. But we joked around, we kidded around with each other a lot. We played tennis together. We did all kinds of crazy stuff, And I remember when I first moved out the house, Randy and I and a whole bunch of my cousin Rick and a whole bunch of other people were sharing an apartment together. And I remember that Randy's mom, would come over with food, or my mom would come over with food, and it was all good. And one of my very best friends, Raymond's parents are Chinese. Raymond and I grew up together. He's as much my brother as my biological brother David is. And we've just grown up together. Both of our mothers are mothers, Love you, Mom. And so some of those things, I'm still friends with Raymond, with Rita, still friends with, with Patty and now her husband. And there's so many people in my life who help me to be who I am, who pray for me and talk to me. One of my other best friends, Carol, I cannot imagine life without Carol and her husband in my life, and all these people, and they're all Asian. And that's a part of who I am. It's a part of what drives me. It's a part of what has formed me. So it's not just the African American culture. It's not just growing up in the 60s with all the civil rights and everything. There's a part of my life that has been extremely influenced by what I'm saying is growing up outside of Chinatown. I didn't live in Chinatown. I don't have Chinese parents. I'm not half Chinese. Some of my kids are, but I'm not. But I am very thankful and grateful for that part of me that was formed by this interaction with the American Chinese culture. I'm, whoa. See, I know you can. Some of you can see those mosquitoes ganging up. They're like a big cloud. Don't know how I'm gonna get another half an hour out here, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Man, they're just getting worse. So, um, and that has formed me in ministry. So my counselors, when I went to Chinese Bible Church, uh, really helped me as a young Christian in high school with all the pressures, with all the things that you're confronted with, helped me to navigate that. To this day, I'm very grateful for my time in Chinese Bible Church. I'm grateful for the sermons that I've heard when I went to Chinese Independent Baptist Church, because a lot of my friends who became Christian, a lot of the pastors in these places, I mean, I always felt accepted. I never felt like an outsider. I never felt like I wasn't loved. Okay? And that helped me because there I started to understand that being Christian is not an ethnicity, it's not a culture, it's not being American or Swedish. It's something totally beyond that. And I always want to be that kind of a Christian. I want to be that Revelations chapter 7 Christian, all nations, all tongues, everything, standing before the throne of Christ and praising his name. And so that's one of the things that has helped to form me, who I am. It is that interaction in my life, and the constant interaction in my life with an Asian community. Even here in Sweden, in cross culture, we've had lots of Asians to come through, and a lot of my still good friends are still Asian. And I don't, it's not like I prefer one group over another group, anything like that. I just, I like people. Oh man, I like people, and 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 that's something that God had planted in me even when I was a young kid, to appreciate and to love people for being people. If you're a cool person, you're a cool person, and if you're not, then you're not. Well, anyway, I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight. I'm sure I could say a lot more. There's a lot of other things that happen, but that's one of the things that has affected me as a pastor, has affected me as just a regular, Christian guy, and just me personally. I got my saved hat on because, being saved is important. Also, it's really thick, and it keeps the mosquitoes off my head at least. And so yeah, so that's part of the things that have helped to form who I am today. Why am I the way I am? Why do I like some of the things I like? And it has to do with all these different parts that have just become a part of who I am. So thanks for watching this video. I'm going to turn this off and try to find a place to hide from the mosquitoes. Don't know what to do because I can't light a fire and get some smoke going or something here. But they are really just ready to eat me up. And so take care. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, ask more questions. And thanks for being with me on this video journey. Take care, everyone. Be blessed and let God use you to bless others. Bye-bye. Oh, don't forget, if you want to know more about cross culture, go to www.crossculture.sc, and you can read up more about us, what's going on, and how you can help to be a part of this ministry here in Uppsala, Sweden. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, here we are again, and another almost rainy day here in Sweden. I just want to thank you very much personally for watching this video, for sharing these videos with your friends and families, church members, and mission communities and organizations. We are a multicultural church here in Uppsala, Sweden, and right now I'm currently employed at 25%, and I really would like to go up in percent. And in order for that to happen, we're asking for Christian communities, Christian people around the world to support what we're doing here, to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, to be truthful about the fact that we're all sinners. Before God, we're all guilty, but that through his love and his mercy and grace, he's allowed his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us. And faith in him, only faith in Jesus Christ, can bring us atonement, reconciliation, forgiveness, and eternal life. We are a community of people from different backgrounds who live as disciples to Jesus Christ, and also with the hope of being able to reach out to people here in Uppsala, Sweden, young and old, black or white, whatever the color is, we don't matter, and it doesn't matter to us, we don't care. We just want to reach out. We want people to know the gospel and help them to make informed decisions. We want to see the kingdom of God grow in Sweden, and we want to do our part. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for supporting Cross Culture. Thanks for watching these videos and sending them out. Keep up the good work, and let's work for the kingdom of God together. Thanks, everyone. Be blessed and take care. And don't forget, www.crossculture.se. Don't forget to watch that, okay? And find out more information. You can watch this video if you want to know a little bit more about what's going on here. See ya. Bye-bye.